everyone, and welcome back to People Jew Wanna Know podcast. My guest today is the iconic Jeremy Jacobowitz. Jeremy is a New York City-based food and travel content creator best known for his viral restaurant reviews and street food coverage across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. He's the founder of Brunch Boys and has built a massive following of over 1 million by spotlighting must-try eats in New York City and around the world with an energetic, no-nonsense style. Jeremy is a phenomenal storyteller and really an OG in this space. He's been doing this work for over 10 years now, and he's been an example and a trendsetter in some sense to other creators. There are so many parts of this episode where you will see his creative and entrepreneurial genius really shine. I learned so much from talking to him. Jeremy and I actually connected after I commented on his Instagram post where he shared that he would be voting for Mamdani. Now that Mamdani is officially in office, I'm eager to bring you this episode. Jeremy is a proud New York City Jew. I personally couldn't seem to understand why he endorsed and voted for Mamdani. And if you're like me, thanks to today's episode, you will find out. And here's what I want you to be prepared for. It wasn't heated, contentious, or combative. In classic Margarita style, I'm just asking questions and trying to understand and respond in a minimally judgmental tone. And I say minimally specifically because I'm a Russian-speaking Jew with family from the former Soviet Union. I am not a supporter of socialism, to say the least, and specifically the policies that Mamdani advocated for. I also think Mamdani's talking points on Jewish life in Israel are deal breakers for me, and I say that very diplomatically. So when I speak to someone like Jeremy, I can't just omit any judgment, but I really tried to understand Jeremy, and you will feel it. The energy of the episode is not hostile whatsoever. I do love having these types of conversations because it helps me learn and challenge myself to be a good listener. We have to stretch this way, and it's important for the future of mankind, honestly. So it's my privilege to share this conversation with you, and it is my privilege that Jeremy wanted to talk to me. Thank you, Jeremy, for doing this episode. The man gifted me a babka before we started recording. He's really the most gracious guest I've had, and I had a blast. The reality is that we have a lot more in common and a lot more joy to share together than anything that divides us. Mamdani will be a speck in history, but our human connection and how we make each other feel is something that can last forever. Please enjoy this episode. Hey, Jeremy, welcome to People Jew Wanna Know podcast. Thank you so much for being with me here today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to chat. Without further ado, tell us about yourself. What do you do and how did you get there?
Sure. So I am a food, travel, content creator, influencer, whatever word you want to use. It doesn't really matter to me. But I'm from New York. I was born in Brooklyn. I grew up in Westchester. I've never lived anywhere else. I went to NYU. So that is a whole lot of what my content is. It's half me traveling around the world and half me very much live in Williamsburg. It's a lot of Williamsburg content also.
How did you get into that?
I worked in TV for a very long time. I started working in TV when I was 19. So I was at NYU studying sports management. Actually, I worked in sports TV for a number of years, WCBS, SNY, WWE. And then I was like, where else can I work? And this is almost 20 years ago now, which is crazy. A little less than that. And I found my way into food TV and I was like, oh, this is connecting so many of the dots that I've always loved and just had never connected. Because I always loved food and cooking and chefs and restaurants and a whole world. But I never wanted to be a chef. And 25 years ago, 30 years ago, growing up as a kid, the only job you could imagine someone having if they love food would be a chef. But really, if you look back at it now, actually, it's funny, I watch YouTube all day. I fucking love YouTube. And right now, I've been watching the Japanese Iron Chef that Food Network had brought over in 2000, which I absolutely was obsessed with as a kid. And I'm just as obsessed with it now. And looking back, it's oh, the signs were there. This is the world I wanted to be. And it just didn't connect until I did it. So I was in food TV. I was Bobby Flaxby. I was producing food travel, food cooking shows, competition shows, the whole thing. And I always made videos on the side. I was a kid in high school making videos. I made videos not because I thought there was a career in it. I made videos because I thought I was hacking the system. I'm a terrible writer. I don't like fucking writing. I don't want to do it. But when I made videos, teachers and professors were impressed that I was thinking outside the box, which is great. But so I'd always put stuff on the internet, and then YouTube became something. I was like, oh, I'll put videos here. And I always put stuff on the internet between gigs because I was always freelance. And there was never any thought of one day I could be an influencer. That didn't exist. But one day that world did exist, and I happened to have an Instagram account that was about food because I was traveling all over for work. And it took off, and this is over 10 years ago. And very quickly it took off, and very quickly people started to make money in that world. And very quickly I made more money on the internet than I ever did in TV, mostly because you don't make any money in TV. And that was it. So it was always just like this pivot. It wasn't this jumping off point. It wasn't this huge change. It was essentially doing the same job I've been doing, working in media and creating content and whatever. It just went from traditional platforms to the internet. And there's a whole lot of mess in there as well in terms of what that means. But in my mind, it wasn't a big difference. And then, yeah, I've been doing that for 10 years now. Yeah, which is crazy.
To me, you're kind of like a Jewish pioneer as like a food content creator. No, truly, like seriously. And what amazes me about someone like you is that you had the discernment to see like, this is where my strengths are. If this route's not working for me, I'm going to find an alternate avenue where my strengths are shown, right? Yeah. I don't like to write, so I'm going to make videos because I'm a good speaker. Now that it's been over a decade of this work, what is like the one piece of advice that you give to people who make content?
Oh, I mean, the biggest piece of advice, sort of like jumping off that point, is like, I always think it's important to like have goals and have what you want to do and be like, this is what I want. But I also don't think you should ever swim upstream. Realize where the flow is going. So it's like, yeah, like not that I was thinking, let me quit TV and do this, but like when it started to go that way and the internet was being something and it kind of made sense, go with it, see what happens. And I think like I was, don't be so dead set in something, like see where the world takes you, I think is my biggest piece of advice. But then just in terms of like creating content, it's just like, I mean, it's so different. It's so different from when I started. It's very difficult to give people like beginning advice, truly. But nowadays it's like, niche yourself. Like, I think if you're starting specifically in my world, it's like, if you're just going to be, I'm a food travel creator like Jeremy. All right, well, it's like 10 billion people. So it's like, what are you doing differently? So having it niche down is really, really helpful. Because if you're just making the content as everyone else, are you really making better content than anyone else? Like when I started, my focus, it was Brunch Boys, because it's supposed to be like an online show. But even in that world, I was the brunch account. So even when I was smaller than all these accounts, I still pitched myself as, well, I'm the number one brunch account in the world. I probably had 15,000 followers. And even was that the truth?
No one was doing brunch.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, even then I was thinking like, how do I stand out? Okay. And then very quickly, it became this world where like at the beginning, it was like just photos of food. That was just what it was. You just like, I was in restaurants all over the country. I was making TV shows there. I don't have time to make videos for myself. So I'd be at a restaurant, here's a photo of the food. Then very quickly I realized like, well, okay, everybody could do that. People are going to have more skill than me and be better at me than everything, but they can't be me. So if I make it much more personality focused, nobody can be me. They can do everything better than me, but they can't ever be me. And that is the secret to it also. It's like, just make it be you. Unless you, I don't know, I guess you could be the greatest photographer in the world. I don't have that mindset. I mean, we're on a Jewish podcast. Does any Jew think that way? I'm the greatest at anything? No, we're like self-doubting ourselves at every single step. And that's always been it. So how do I get through that? How do I push through that? Be me. People are going to follow me for me. And then the other things matter less, I guess.
I have to say that really resonates with me as a small creator, because when I started my show, no one was really interviewing Jews. Like, there were Jewish podcasts, certainly, that brought other Jewish guests on, but no one's like sole focus was interviewing Jews. And so I thought that like my right to win, my competitive advantage would be to be like the most diverse Jewish podcast, the one whose focus is to interview Jews. And then after October 7th, like within 6 months of me launching, suddenly a bunch of people with much larger followings than me started doing the same thing, interviewing Jewish people. And that was the point of their show. And that's when I realized like the only way I can stand out is that they have to come to me for the things they're not going to hear elsewhere. And I have to differentiate as the host. And the host pulls in a lot, like the host has as much leverage, if not more, as the guest, because it's how the host moderates the conversation that really influences the final product. And that's the most important thing I've learned as a creator. And I've been around for 2 years. I'm young. I'm new. I have a lot to learn. I'm not a content creator or creative by trade. I work a tech job. And seeing the difference of how my page has grown as a result of my own commentary on things, as a result of building my own voice, as compared to before, where I used to use like really famous speakers as a crutch, where I could just like ask them the simplest question and they would
bring back the most colorful, vibrant answer. And now it's like, no, I do a lot of the prep. I carry my own. I have to be an intellectual equal to every single guest that I have because I have to put my skin in the game. And the growth and the improvement that I've seen in the show as a result of that has been tremendous. Right. So I completely agree with you. I think you're spot on.
Thanks. Well, we both had success. Then people watching, then I think you can say things and it happens too. I think proving it also is important, and obviously you're doing that, which is great.
Yeah, and iterating is so important. Seeing, like, for you to have stayed where you're at and grown, for over a decade, it requires constantly innovating and coming up with new concepts, new ideas.
Like, I have so many friends that started. Listen, I was very lucky that I was at the beginning, but I had a lot of other friends that were at the beginning too, and still have a ton of followers, but their accounts either are completely dead and they don't do it, or they still do it and their accounts are completely dead. Like, there wasn't even video on Instagram when I took off. Like, there wasn't an algorithm on Instagram when my account took off. Like, the world changes every second and every day, and you have to, you don't need to make big changes all the time, but I think you need to be constantly adjusting and seeing what's working, and not being afraid to tweak and stay on top of it. You can't be like, well, I'm never going to do, there are people still I would never make a video. I just like taking photos. You can do whatever you want with your account. I don't really care. But then if you're also going to complain that your account doesn't grow,
that's why.
You can't have it both ways. You can do whatever you want, but if you want success, and not everyone does. People just want to be creative. That's also incredible. But if you're wanting followers, and you kind of got to listen to what Instagram's telling you. When Instagram launches Reels, and you're like, well, I hate Reels. Okay. It doesn't matter what you think.
You're right. It matters what the consumers think.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Or it really depends on what the tech companies want. They will push what they want you to use. So anytime there's a new feature, just jump on it. Just try it out. Like when everyone was going live, I don't know if anyone liked doing live videos, but it was a great new way to reach people. So just do it.
Yeah, and I have to say one of the regrets I have as a content creator is I should have started YouTube first, and instead I did YouTube last, because now with hindsight, I understand that YouTube is the clearest monetizable platform. Mm-hmm. You know exactly what it takes to monetize, and you know how you're going to get there and what you're going to make. Instead, I doubled down on Instagram, which is perhaps the most ambiguous, least directly monetizable platform.
But it's still the best in terms of brand partnerships. Even my YouTube friends that have giant followings on YouTube and get pretty decent checks every month from it, it still is far less than the brand partnerships they could get from Instagram. So they're jealous of people that Instagram do. It goes both ways.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, then I don't feel so bad.
Nah, listen, I technically started on YouTube, and it's still my smallest audience, so who knows?
One of the things I've loved to see on your page is how you not only showcase the food, but you also connect with the people that are local to those communities making the food. Mm-hmm. What do you think are top moments you have when you're meeting these people?
I think for me, and this is an example I go back to a lot. I was in Korea, I was in Seoul, and a lot of the food travel stuff, I always say it's in New York, I could kind of come up with I hate saying even the best, but I usually say my favorite. But generally, I could sort of get away in New York being the best whatever is this. Because I'm here, I know the food, I've eaten the food. When I travel, it's very hard to say the best. Sometimes I just say it just because you need superlatives to get people to stop on the video. But truly, it's just what I found, what I really liked. It's my favorite more than the best. But also at the same time, it's if my only thing is I want the absolute best of this dish, I don't have to leave New York. I don't. If I want to have some of the best Korean food ever, I don't have to go to Korea. There's certainly levels, but I could go to restaurants in New York City. This is why New York City is the greatest city in the world to have the best. That's not what I do. That's not what I'm seeking out. I'm seeking out those stories. I'm seeking out those experiences that I can't get. And I don't care if it's not the best or not. So example I always give is I was in Seoul, and there's this little tiny fried chicken thing. The whole restaurant was maybe just a little bit bigger than this room. And I go in there 4 p.m. and just one dude, he's sitting there smoking a cigarette and drinking beer. And you walk in and he's like, chicken beer. That's the only thing on the menu. So you have to say yes, you're not getting served. I said, yeah. So he goes to his fryer, this big open fryer in the window. He's still smoking a cigarette, and he's frying the fried chicken or whatever. He gets to it, and the chicken's not bad. It's excellent. It's super crunchy and so juicy, and he has this hot sauce, and you get the cold beer, and it tastes great. Was that the greatest Korean fried chicken I've ever had? No. I could go to Kokodok here and have great Korean fried chicken. But will I remember that experience forever because that's an experience that I can only get there? Yeah, of course. That's why I travel. Even I went to a restaurant in Kyoto called Monk. It's one of the top restaurants in the world, a very hard reservation. It is an omakase, very super, I say hyper local. People hate that word, but it is hyper local, like vegetable forward, kaiseki menu, but in place of rice, he uses pizza because he has this beautiful wood-fired oven. And in the video, I talk about how like,
Wait, it's sushi pizza?
it's not sushi. No. So there's no, I mean, basically it's like a 16-course thing of whatever he wants, and it's finished with pizza.
Got it.
So did we have sushi? Maybe some sushi, but it was like a lot of veggies, some whatever. It's whatever he wants to cook. It's whatever he goes to market and finds. But everything's cooked in this big wood-fired oven. It's beautiful. Like serene. It's on this little stream on Philosopher's Path in Kyoto. And Kyoto's so beautiful. And like he probably has the clout, and he could probably get the money to open up in New York City, Monk in New York City. And he could cook food that's great. He can never replicate that experience because having this little house on this little path and a dark night in Kyoto and all those fresh local things picked from the he literally goes to the forest to forage for stuff for the menu. Like, he could open up a great restaurant in New York City, but he can never open up that in New York City. And that's what I appreciate so much more than, was that the best pizza I've ever had? I don't know. But who cares?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I go after more of, like, what is the story of this place? What makes this thing special rather than ranking foods or what's the best? And I think achieving the best is silly, especially in food, especially when food's so subjective. I love Joe's Pizza, but I tell everyone Joe's Pizza isn't the best pizza in New York City, but it's my favorite and it's what I love. And I think if you're visiting New York City, you should eat that because it's the epitome of the New York slice. If you're like a pizza nerd, of course you'd be like, oh, well, I think the crust should be. It's like, yeah, I don't disagree with you. But if you're in New York City, you should eat Joe's Pizza. And that's what gets me, that's so much more interesting to me than anything else.
Well, I think that's what separates a food like content creator from a real storyteller. Like, that's the difference between just a random influencer. Here are the 5 things I ate in Manhattan.
Which
versus
I do
like an
also.
Anthony Bourdain or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
Because
yeah.
I also have to commend you for the intimacy that you create with your viewer. And I don't know that when you started, you may have not even intended it. And that's how it came out, because we're learning about you, we're experiencing the meal with you, and that's the part that's memorable to people and why they come back to your content. And seeing your evolution throughout the years has also been fascinating. You know, recently you spoke to your audience and you said that you announced your autism diagnosis.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, now that you know this, is there any way you're leveraging it as a superpower? And then are there other parts of it that you're still working through?
I agree in some ways with the superpower aspect. I think it allows you to see the world differently, and especially at a time when everything's so goddamn black and white, and it's just not the way I view the world. Especially when everyone wants me to view the world that way, and I think I have a different perspective, which I think is helpful. I did it because why I ended up getting, there was a whole process of why I ended up getting tested for it, whatever. But why I did it wasn't necessarily to like figure out something about myself, because whether they told me I had it or not, I am who I am. The point was to allow people to understand me better. And that's why I wanted to make it public, where it's like, you now have a better understanding of who I am and what I do because of this. I know who I am. I didn't change. Not that I don't have to change or whatever, but like that wasn't the process of this journey. This journey was like, hey, now you have a better understanding of where I'm coming from. And I think that's important. If you're going to be influenced by me, understand who I am, you know? Like, it's important. Like, I say it all the time, like, I don't know, I see who people follow, and I'm like, oh my God, these I don't give a shit what they're trying to sell to me, because I really don't like them for whatever reason. But people are blind to it sometimes because they are able to post these lavish things online or whatever it is. I'm like, yeah, but do you know anything about them? Shouldn't you know something about them?
Are they a good person?
Right. Or what's their perspective on things? What is their mindset? Where did they come from? What are they able to just buy all that shit, or is it for free? Have they always lived that life or not? It's just like, and not that there's a right answer to any of those things, but I think like having that perspective is helpful to your audience. I think it's important to make that connection and realize.
There was a content creator that I used to love, and it didn't matter what she posted, I would watch it, because her whole story was growing up poor in a village in Russia. And then she got into acting and became the superstar, and she kept her kind of like relatability side still, despite becoming one of the first like female millionaires in Russia. She had like the greatest following of all female pop stars and celebrities in Russia. And then when the war started with Ukraine, she got canceled by her audience because she wasn't pro-Ukraine.
Okay.
And she had like a fall from grace. And now she's just coming back up, starting content. Her brand is now, she's gone back to her roots. She lives in a village with her new husband where they have like cows. And it's hard for me to watch.
She's a trad wife of Russia.
Yes. She doubled down, okay? And it's, as a Ukrainian person, I will never look at her the same, to be honest with you. Not that she's listening to this, but this is like the essence of what you're talking about that I think is starting to disappear from a lot of content. And, you know, you're born and raised in Brooklyn. What was your Jewish upbringing like?
Sure. I mean, I always say, like, I am very much first a New York Jew more than like a religious Jew. Like, I grew up going to temple. I got bar mitzvahed.
That's more than me.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. So at that experience, like, half my family was conservative. I grew up very reformed, so it wasn't kosher or anything like that. It was very much like, you know, you do all the holidays, you go to temple when you need to. We would do Shabbat services when we could at temple growing up, you know, Hebrew school until I was, you know, whatever. But like my family, very, very lucky, unlike a lot of Jews in New York and America, we were all here before World War II. So like I have family that's been here since the mid-1800s. I had family, my grandfather was born in Argentina, but his family's from Eastern Europe. And they were all essentially from Eastern Europe at some point. But so like when it's like, who am I? It's like, well, we've been here for generations. I'm a New York Jew more than anything. I can't relate to anything else. And also like, you know, who knows how long my family was in Poland before they got kicked out of there. So am I Polish? I don't know. Probably, like however you want to define it. So I've always been much more defined by that of like, I'm a New York Jew. That is my ethnicity and background much more than religion, where it's like, I like the cultural stuff about it. I go to when I can. I do Rosh Hashanah, I do Yom Kippur, we do, you know, Passover, we do that stuff. Does it matter to me on like a God level? No, but it matters to me in, you know, it's family, it's tradition. It's, you know, that's a nice part about it to me.
What is a New York Jew to you?
Yeah. Me. I don't know. It's like
me.
I mean, it is. It's like there's that attitude. There's like, you know, it's honestly it's expanded past even like I don't think if you're not Jewish you can't call yourself a New York Jew, but I think it's just more like the essence of New York.
Yeah, like the that. OGs.
Yeah, exactly.
In November, you had posted on your Instagram. Maybe you posted elsewhere, but I saw it on Instagram that you're choosing to vote for Mamdani, which I'm sure for the Jewish mishpocha was like a resounding alarm siren. They were freaked out.
Sure.
Now that the dust has settled on the election, how do you feel? And for my Jewish audience, can you walk me through kind of like what guided your decision?
Sure. I mean, so many levels to get into, but I think like we'll start very, very basic and then we could get down to it. I am a Democrat. I worked at the Biden campaign and the Kamala campaign. Essentially, I was going to vote for whoever was a Democratic nominee for mayor of New York City. There wasn't really a question to me about that. In the primary, did I rank Zoran number one? No, I actually ranked Brad Lander, a Jew. Everyone ignored that part. They wanted to yell at me that I put Zoran on the thing at all. We have a primary process and Zoran won. And then I was going to vote for him. It really wasn't a whole thing. Like, I think, and then like, as you get deeper, it's like, okay, well, let's get to like what the issues were with Jews had with Zoran or whatever. I don't think Zoran and myself view Israel in the same way. Neither does a lot of fucking people, as we've learned. But he's the mayor of New York City. Who cares what he thinks? And I think that was a lot of too. A lot of frustration on my side was like, and I went through this with the Kamala campaign. I was on the campaign trail. So I almost heard just as much from Jews about Kamala as I did from Zoran. I heard the same slop. So when people told me the same slop about him, I was like, well, you told me about Kamala too, and none of that was true. They would send me, this is a great conversation I had. I'm at this party. This girl comes up to me and she's like, we met that night. Oh, Jeremy, I'm a follower, blah, blah, blah. A very normal conversation. Hello. Hi, how are you? Whatever. Okay. Cut to like 2 hours later. It's a fun party. I'm drinking. I'm at the bar. I'm going to drink. She comes up to me. She's like, Sal, what about that piece of shit, Zoran? I was like, this is the conversation this girl wants to have with me? This is like a month out from the election. So she's telling me, listen, everyone DM me everything. I tried very hard to take the time to listen to everyone as much as I could, because I think half of it was just people wanted to be crazy and half of it were people legitimately concerned. And I didn't want to dismiss people's concerns. I think that if you dismiss people because you don't think that what they're saying is correct, I think that's not fair to them. Because I think that like Jews are scared, and I don't want to tell them tough shit. So people would send me all this stuff, and I would try to absorb it in a way to understand it, to try and give people better answers, which is what I try to do it as an influencer, whether we're talking about food, travel, Zoran, any political thing. I'm like, I'm pretty informed about stuff. I'm pretty in the know. Let me try and get you truth information. So she's sitting there, she's telling me all these things, everything everyone wanted to say. And I'm sitting there, I'm just like, but none of that's true. You could tell me that he views Israel differently to me. Okay, 100%. I'm never going to disagree with you with that. But everything she was saying is just not true. And I kept saying to her, I was like, none of this is true. I was like, I asked her, I said, where do you get your information? Where is this information coming from? And she would tell me some random fucking TikTok person. I'm like, that's not the news.
Do you remember anything she said that was like explicitly not true?
I don't remember exactly, but it was the same stuff everyone sent me, which was like, his actual mission is to kill every Jew in New York City is what it all broke down to.
Okay.
No matter what it was, you don't understand.
That's insane.
His whole mission is that he's actually here to kill every Jew, and by you voting for him, you are voting to kill every Jew in New York City. That is what every conversation broke down to. It was never, let's talk about Israel. It was never talk about Gaza. It was never talk about anything. It was like, you're stupid, you don't understand, because this is what I saw on the internet. And I said to her, I was like, the New York Times was not very pro-Zoran, frankly. Most of the articles that came out about Zoran through the whole campaign were questioning a lot of his stuff in the New York Times, which is fair. That's what like you should do. I'm not saying it's good or bad. So I said to her, I was like, don't you think that when the New York Times are writing these articles that are pretty negative towards him, don't you think they would lead with, we found out his plan is to kill all the Jews? Don't you think that's what it was? So she's like, they would never report on that. I'm like, why do you think they wouldn't report on that? Because they're actual news organizations and they have to like do journalism. And not that all newspapers and journalism get things correct all the time, but when they get things wrong, they correct themselves. So I had this whole conversation. And the next day she DMs me. She goes, look at what I saw. And again, I'm like, this isn't a reputable thing. What you just sent me was internet slop that somebody made up that honestly probably came from Russia or probably came, you know what I mean? Like, it's all the same propaganda. I see it. I see all the propaganda. And then she sent me New York Post. Like, New York Post isn't news either, by the way. That's a tabloid. I'm like, at the end of the day, believe what and I kept sending people to them, like, vote for whoever you want. I'm not telling you to vote for her. But please, just like, if you're going to make a decision, vote on real information. If you want to vote for Cuomo, that's fine. I'm not going to be mad at you. Like, I think I thought Cuomo was going to win the whole time until Zoran won the primary. And Cuomo,
really? I never thought he would win.
A year ago, before anyone was, Zoran, I guess, had announced himself. Cuomo jumped in sort of late compared to everyone. And I said to him, I was like, Cuomo's going to win. People really like Cuomo. They remember the good times of Cuomo, not the bad times of Cuomo. And I think two things happened. I think no one anticipated the way Zoran was going to make the impact online. No one anticipated the way he was going to connect to young people. But also, frankly, no one anticipated Cuomo would run the worst campaign of all time. Like,
Facts.
I'm sorry, all he ran on was Islamophobia. He ran on kissing Trump's ring. That's who I'm going to reward in this case, because I disagree with Zoran. I also disagree with Zoran on some of his policies for New York City, by the way. Again, it's not this black and white thing. But going back to this whole bigger question, to me, what is best for New York City is what's best for Jews. And Zoran's policies are what's best for New York City.
That's an interesting line of thinking. I haven't heard anybody bring that up. What is best for New York City is best for Jews. That's an interesting phrase that you use there. My issue with him, which, by the way, I can't even vote. I live in Jersey City. Okay. But I did phone bank for Cuomo, not because I'm a Cuomo supporter, but because I was anti-Zoran. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And to me, my issue with him is, Jewish stuff aside, first and foremost, I don't think the mayor of New York is responsible to like fix Israel-Palestine or I also don't think New Yorkers have an obligation to vote on the Jews' behalf. Like, everyone is voting for their own best interests, the kinds of policies that are best for them. Mm-hmm. So no shade to anybody that looked at this and was like, well, sorry, Jews, I'm going to vote for my best interest. That's a perfectly rational thing to do. My issue with him as a candidate was I just don't believe his policies work. That's it.
That's fair.
Period, end of story.
Yeah.
And I say that as a former Soviet Union Jew that is intimately familiar with how socialism works. And one of the things that I've been saying to my peers a lot, and I seldom talk about politics, but socialism, I feel I'm uniquely positioned to discuss, is that I understand that in New York City right now, a lot of young people feel really demoralized. Why? Because they're working hard. They don't have any money. They pay $4,000 to get an MRI. You know, it's insane. Our society is insane. Social media is insane. I get it. And they talk about socialism as if it's like some thought experiment, like as if it's a theory.
Yeah.
Like, well, if we only do this, if we only do that. Socialism is not a theory. I know exactly what socialism is. Like, it's been done. Like, I know what it looks like.
But if you were looking at, like, there's like so many levels to it. But it's like, what are people actually want? It is what every developed nation has. We're not screaming about Sweden having socialism, but they're pretty happy and they get healthcare and they're pretty and they pay a lot in taxes, but like they live in a beautiful place. Oh, just in Switzerland, they pay a fuck ton there and they have like trams everywhere and everything's happy and everything's working. Like, I think that there's levels to it. And that's sort of going back to the idea of like what I agreed with about Zoran. What I disagreed with Zoran was what I think his priorities in terms of what he was jumping off points were a little off. I'm like, free buses, I guess that sounds okay, but I don't think that's a priority to most New Yorkers. Is that the number one thing you want to run on? Frankly, something you can't do anyway. But free childcare, I think that could be so helpful to everybody. And also, it's this conversation too where people tell me two things: either his policies are stupid or he can't get them done. I'm like, well, which one are you mad about? Because if you can't get them done, then don't worry about it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My guess is how this is going to play out is he'll get the grocery stores, again, like 5 city-run grocery stores.
It'll be like a micro version of everything that he platformed on.
Yeah, and that's, get the grocery stores, that's great. I think we need to get through the governor election next year also because Hochul's not going to do anything running up to election. She proved that with the congestion pricing. So I think she needs to win next year, which she probably will. So she's not going to rock the boat. So we're not raising taxes on anyone. We're not having free buses because you can't do that anyway. Healthcare is a huge cost that we're not going to be there yet. But
I think that's a federal issue, to be honest with you.
But we don't have a federal government right now, which is why it's going to depend more on city and states. But what he can do right now is he could freeze the rent immediately, which to me, you're not going to freeze the rent forever. I think that so I live in a rent stabilized apartment. This is what's so funny about this Rowan stuff too, about him living in a rent stabilized apartment. Guys, rent stabilized apartments are not cheap. My apartment is by no means cheap, but it is stabilized so we can't get gouged by people, which is the point. So it's not based off of how much money you make. It's not based off of anything other than did you luck into a building that happens to be rent stabilized because that building gets tax breaks for the city.
But that's weird to me. Like, I feel like your income should matter on whether you can get more affordable housing.
But all we're saying is that but it's not affordable. It's just less than it could be. It's not rent controlled. Rent controlled is, that's insane, but nobody gets that. Rent stabilized is the market is insane in New York. Instead of relying on pure capitalism where they could just look for all the profits, we're just going to control it a little bit, which is what happens in a lot of sectors of this world. We control the meat prices and egg prices and oil prices. Like, it just is a way to protect the consumer. So under de Blasio, wasn't my favorite either, by the way. I didn't like that. That was also when Zoran's like, my favorite New York City mayor is de Blasio. I'm like, I know why you said that, but like, come on, de Blasio can't be your goddamn favorite mayor in New York City history. Rent, the idea is that it's supposed, instead of going up by market prices, it goes up basically by general, prices going up. Prices just go up by natural inflation. So it went up like 3 to 4% every year, which is...
Yeah, but rent goes up like 15%.
No, that's because rent stabilized.
It's not stabilized.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Under Adams, it went up 8% every year because he just decided his people wanted to make it 8%. So to me, it's like if you freeze the rent for 2 years, bring it back down to what it naturally would have been over that course of the 4 years, still is more expensive because it's compounding interest every year, but freeze it for 2 years, let people be happy, great. He gets some momentum on his side. Hochul wins. They both have momentum. If people really like him and his numbers are really great, then you push for the 2% tax on millionaires, which I don't have a problem with. Even, listen, I'm not a millionaire, but even if I was, I would prefer my money going to really helping the city. I'm a true believer in that even if the healthcare stuff, even if everything, I think like it's crazy to me that I think there's a conversation to be had of like the moral implications of all of it. I think we should have healthcare for all those reasons. But to me, it's a business decision. If we in America want people to buy shit and all of their money goes to rents and healthcare,
they cannot buy shit.
They can't buy anything.
I understand what you're saying.
So if we want people to, so what if we made it easier for them to live and have healthcare, and then they're buying all this shit? Like, to me, it's actually like a business reason to do it. Like, that is my core fundamental belief of politics, which is, the very democratic strategy. You build from the bottom or middle up, not the top up.
The thing I'll add, though, is that like these conditions, if we look at reference points like Sweden and other countries, they have very different circumstances, different population sizes. They don't take immigrants. They don't have as many economic outputs. They're dependent on imports. And they don't buy shit either. They have one shirt, because one shirt in Sweden costs, €40, and it could be like a regular t-shirt, and they wear that same white shirt. This idea that in America we have a lot, at different price points. Everything is big. Everything is a lot. That is a product of capitalism.
Sure.
And for someone who grew up in a place where, jeans had to be smuggled in because people wore the same, shit-stained brown pant and stood in line for 3 hours to buy that shit-stained brown pant, I see it in a different light, because I understand that the reason we are here today the way that we are is because of it's like both,
but
good
I'll
and
say
bad.
that what people MAGA loves this idea of going back to when America was great, right? And in general, they don't really have a timeline for that. But you close your eyes and essentially they mean the 1950s.
It used to be better. Yeah.
But essentially they mean the 1950s, right? Right? I don't know.
Do they?
Sort of. How did America, because that was America's boom. Those are the boomers.
Okay.
That was when America was great in the 1950s. We won World War II and everyone's buying shit, everyone can afford everything. But like what built the foundation for that was after the Great Depression, the government stepped in and helped everybody. Socialism is how we actually made America great.
You think so?
And everyone skips over that stuff.
I need
100%.
to look into that. That's an interesting point.
I think like that's, I was when Biden, like, who's your favorite president, FDR, like when you asked that, when Zoran went to the White House, whose photo you want to look at? FDR, because those are his policies. But she made Trump stand in front of him and take a photo of, and Trump doesn't understand any of that. So he was just like, he loves Zoran for some reason, I don't know. Which was, I was in Europe and I woke up in the morning, it's like 100 notifications from New York Times about like the whole meeting. I was like, what? What just happened? But if he could win over Trump, then I believe he could win over the Jews in New York City too. But that's what I said to him, was like, listen, I hear you. If he sucks, then we get rid of him. Eric Adams sucked and we got rid of him. If in 4 years Zoran fails in terms of what he did for Jews or what he did in New York City or whatever, then we boot his ass out and we vote in someone else, which is what we just did. And I think like I just had to look at the numbers too. Who's going to win? I don't know. We're fighting about something that was never a fight. I think that's what was frustrating too. Trump and Kamala was really a difference of 1% truly in terms of population, not in terms of the electoral votes. We were talking about Zoran leading by 15 points going into the week of the election.
For sure, it was a significant
So
one.
instead of, crashing out over this, how about we try and really I think you did see his answers change from the time his election started to the end.
That's how he got the 15 points.
Great, but that's what it should be like. As he learned more and spoke to more people and had a better understanding of his language, which he changed, of some of his views, which he changed, like people act like that's a bad thing. It's like, no. Here's someone that is now running on a bigger platform than just his district. And already in a year of just campaigning, he had a better understanding of things and was willing to adapt. So am I going to go out here and act like he's the enemy? Or am I going to go out here being like, hey, if we could work together and he could have a better understanding of why Jews feel this way, then great. And then that's wonderful. And he's not going to do everything right. But I also don't want listen, bad things happen. Bad things are going to happen. We just blame him for everything. It's like, well, that's not fair.
My other kind of view that I see of this is Zoran has constantly said, I'm talking to Jewish people, I'm meeting with Jewish people, I'm trying to understand. But then when you look at who he talks to, those people represent 5% of what actual Jews think. They're the token, anti-Zionist, critical of Israel. It's not what why isn't he talking to the Jews, the ones that are at Park Avenue
frankly,
Synagogue,
he didn't. his team only, listen, I was never the most out front person just because like I honestly didn't feel like I needed to be. But his campaign only reached out to me like 2 days before the election. I was like, I was here. I could have had the conversation.
You spoke to them?
Yeah.
Did you learn anything interesting?
No, nothing. They were literally like, it wasn't a back and forth. It was like, hey, we're like in the days leading up, like we're doing a bunch of events. We would love for you to be there if you could do something. It was all so, not that I wasn't happy to do it, but I had already by that point, I had already voted. I voted early. I'd made my video talking about why I was voting for him. I didn't feel like I had that much more to say, frankly.
Yeah, fair.
And it also was these positions where, listen, I played the game. I'm going to these places like when I met Biden.
You met Biden?
Yeah. Well, I told you, like, I was on the campaign with them. So then that team went into the White House. So there was always opportunities to help them. I was invited to the holiday party last year. I was like, I'm not going to be here for a while, so I might as well take it all in. When I met Biden, he was in town doing a bunch of events. And they're like, we could have you at this event. It's an anti-gun event or whatever it is. He's making a speech about that. So like when you post about it, not that I had to post about it, but like if you post about it, we very much encourage you, like, could you just talk about that messaging? And that's a game. But you get to meet him, you get to take a photo with him, you get to shake his hand. He's literally, this is crazy. That's when people are like, oh, he's old and tired. I'm like, no, let me tell you about that man's day. When I met him, this is 4 years ago, probably, whatever it was, 3 years ago. He was up all night because they were like killing some terrorists or something. I don't know. So he's in like the war room. Sorry, there'd be funny about it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He was like in the war room all night. He flies to New York City. He's going from speech to speech to speech, event to event to event, where he's meeting all these people. In that morning, by the way, he had a meeting with everyone who's briefed. So you can't, at these events, you can't just like meet him. It's all set up. So they ran a background check on me. I've now passed multiple White House background checks, which I'm very proud of, even social media background checks. And
I would not pass.
Nowadays I wouldn't pass. Me leaving a country, God knows if I'm going to let back in. So he was literally briefed that morning, like, you're going to meet Jeremy. He's a food, like, I was like, that's insane that this is on like the president's agenda. But so anyway, so he's in New York all day. He was doing all these events. He hadn't slept all day. He did all that. And then he flew back to DC that night. And then it was like the anniversary of his son's death or something. He like went to go mourn his son. It's like, I'm sorry, like, yeah, I would be tired too. Leave the goddamn man be. And as we've seen, he seemed to be more sprite than a president now, and no one's complaining about it. So like, what's the difference?
We need some kind of age max. I hate to say it, but it's a really stressful job. And I think past a certain point, some people just can't withstand it. It needs to be more like of the selection criteria.
We vote. It's our fault.
I know. Yeah, also true.
I mean, listen, the common thing's a whole different thing, but like, we just keep picking old people. I don't know what to tell you.
What do you think your message is to Jewish people today? It doesn't have to be Jewish New Yorkers. It could be any Jewish people.
Just in general?
Yeah, the Jews.
The Jews? Oh my God.
Listen, Jews.
Listen, Jews. I think it's like, I hear from everyone, and I promise you I try and listen to everyone. Whether I agree or disagree, I try and listen to everyone. I think like what's frustrating for me is like the political conversations are interesting to me. You telling me about your perspective on his policies is actually interesting to me. Maybe you agree, maybe we disagree. That's okay. But like politics are fascinating to me in that way, because like there should be gray areas, and like I would prefer there to be more gray area and stuff. And I think that's like, I know that things can be scary, and you watch the news and it's even scarier, and everyone's trying to fearmonger you, and it's never a great time in the history of the world. It's never a great time to be a Jew, which is upsetting. But we are living also in a time where it's like in America, as a Jew, there's nothing holding you back from success. There's nothing holding you back from anything, even if there's anti-Semitism out there. Like, we moved to Westchester in 1993, and our town, like I grew up in Irvington, and I don't think Jews moved into Irvington until the 90s, which is crazy. We lived in Tarrytown, the town over, but I went to Irvington schools. But even we, like, our first Halloween, like, someone swastika'd our Halloween decorations or something. And like, that's horrible, right? On every level. And whether it's better or worse now, I don't know. Who knows? The internet makes everything crazy. But I still think like we all face adversity, and like that's, if that's the worst I have to deal with, I think like we're Jews, we're strong, we've been through everything. Every holiday is about someone trying to kill us and we survived, And I think that's what I look at more than the bad. It's like, it is ingrained in us to survive literally everything. And today's no different.
Oh, we'll survive, that's for sure. It might not be easy, but we'll do it.
No.
I want to move us on to a lightning round of questions I prepared for you that are more fun and lighthearted than politics.
After I yelled about Zoran for half an hour. What's funny too is like I became this like Zoran advocate because I like wasn't afraid to talk about it. Or I'm like, I don't know, I'm like not the biggest Zoran fan. I just happened to vote for him for the reasons we talked about. But then I was put on this pedestal. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you guys. Sorry.
But I appreciate that because I wasn't hearing that from other people. So I was interested to know. Like, I was like, what is this guy thinking? I want to talk to him. And it takes like a little bit of balls. I think either way, whether you were a Sliwa or a Zoran fan, like to go up there with that confidence and say, this is what I'm doing. Thanks.
But it goes back to who I am. If people saw that and they wanted to unfollow me and
that's their prerogative.
Unfollow me, that's totally, if you were like, I really liked his food content, and now he's voting for someone I disagree with on a fundamental level. I don't want to follow him. That's unfortunate, but that's totally fine. I'm not mad at you at all. Like, I probably unfollowed Trump people because I was like, I don't want to follow them anymore. Not that I'm posting about politics all the time, but if you don't believe you want to trust me anymore, because that's fine. That's the freedom we have.
Yeah, that's like how I unfollowed that content creator from Russia I told you about. I do think like a deep part of her has to do that to survive. Like she has to be kissing Russia's ass.
I mean, she lives there probably.
Well, that's a choice too.
She
could have been like her ex-husband and moved to Dubai or wherever he went. And I'm just like, blink once if you need help. You know? Okay, here's what I have for you on the lightning round. Food-forward questions. First one, don't think too hard on these. By the way, just whatever comes to your mind. One dish you never get tired of filming.
Oh, filming. I mean, at this point, I used to film a lot more in the kitchens. Now it's literally just me eating. So I think like the answer really is like, what dish do I never get tired of eating? And it's sushi. I could eat sushi every meal forever.
When I went to Japan, I ate sushi every day. And then I got back to America and didn't eat sushi for a month because I was so sick of it.
When I go to Japan, I actually don't even eat that much sushi when I go to Japan. I mean, I'm usually there for like 2.5 weeks.
What do you eat, tempura?
I eat they have the best of everything.
Like what?
Pizza.
Really?
Egg salad from 7-Eleven.
Their McDonald's is kind of good,
beef,
low-key.
Yeah, everything like steaks. They're like I had some of the best like Italian
steak,
food I've ever had.
Steak's
Like
fair.
everything there is so good that like I try and diversify as much as I can while I'm there.
Okay, so I have a fun fact real fast as a tangent about the best type of fish. And I learned this at a very expensive omakase in Tokyo.
Okay.
And I got in like very last minute because of course it's booked up and I was by myself and that's why I was able to get in. Basically everyone, like the average person, when they think about good fish, like what's the best kind of fish for sushi, they think it's fresh.
Yeah.
But the reality is that's not the case at all. What happens is when you catch a fish and it's on the hook, it fights for its life. And so it's like wobbling. It releases lactic acid, making its like skin and muscles really firm.
Yeah.
So when you eat that fish and it's fresh, it's still firm from all the lactic acid. So what like the advanced omakase places do is they put that fish on ice for a week. And over that week, the lactic acid slowly breaks down until the fish is soft. So when you eat it in the omakase, it's soft and buttery. And that's what gives it that really good texture that you don't get from fresh fish.
It's funny that literally this morning on TikTok, a Anthony Bourdain video popped up saying exactly that.
I am the reincarnation of Anthony Bourdain.
But I fall into that trap too because sometimes I'll say the word fresh and like that's not really what I meant. I meant like the quality of it was better. But yeah, 100%. Like if at those omakases in Japan, like it's all aged, like the same reason. And it's funny too is like people are always like, some of the best sushi I had was like in Austin. Uchi's.
What?
Uchi's now expanded, but they started in Austin. They're not as good as they used to be, but whatever. And I would say that and people are like, where'd they get the fish from? I'm like, well, all
it
comes from
matter.
Japan.
Yeah.
Actually, the fish gets to Austin before it gets to New York.
Actually.
So it's like, yeah.
As long as it's on ice for a few days, they'll be good.
Yeah.
Regardless. Okay. So one dish you're done filming. You are not filming it again.
What am I done filming? I don't know. I mean, I generally try and stay away from like, it's all the viral stuff. Like, I don't want to wait online. Like this week, I actually...
You don't want the Dubai hot chocolate?
I've never had it. Maybe it's delicious. This week is actually funny.
At 4 p.m., I'm going to try for a Jewish-owned business. So you're welcome to come with me to the Dubai hot chocolate place.
Oh, it's hot chocolate. I don't want it. Definitely don't want that. But it's funny. Like, I filmed the stuffed bagels this week, which is like super viral.
What is it? Wait, what? What is this?
You haven't seen this?
They're stuffed with what?
Like bacon, egg, and cheese and pastrami, and like they stuff them with like meats and stuff and eggs or whatever it is. So they were upstate thing, and they're like filled the bagel inside of it and cooked it with it. And it was like super viral this weekend. And I was like, I don't know if I really want this. Like I'm such like a bagel purist. That's also like my whole thing. But I was like, well, whatever. I started getting DMs. Everyone's like, we need your opinion on this. And I was like, all right, like it's a one thing I'm okay making a negative video about because I feel like it is like so critical to me, the bagel thing. And I was like, actually pretty good. Actually
sure
pretty good. Then I'm now like, all right, I got the viral thing. Okay, it's okay. But for the most part, I'm like, someone says, oh, it's 2-hour wait. I'm like, I don't want that shit. I don't care. Oh, we're in New York City. You go anywhere and get great food. I'm not waiting for anything.
I'm so glad you say that because I'm an anti-lines person through and through. I've talked about this on the show ad nauseum.
Well, my thing is that it's a generational thing because younger people want to wait online. The experience they want is going to wait online, so they take the photo being like, look at me waiting on this line for this thing. Like it's like I waited online for this. It's like a big thing to them. For me, I'm like I love Radio Bakery. I'm not going to Radio, and listen, I have the luxury that I have more time than most people to do things, but even on the weekends, like, yeah, you're waiting online at Radio Bakery because you got there at 9:30 in the morning. If you just woke up early and got there at 7, there's no line. You chose to go there at a time that's busy because if it wasn't busy, you wouldn't think it was worthwhile. And it's just it's a weird generational thing that like, because I mean, even 10 years ago, nobody waited online for some. There's one place in New York City people waited online. It was for Dominic Ansell's
Corona. Yeah.
That was like the original thing.
Right.
And that was one dish people waited for. Now every weekend there's
nobody waits in line there anymore at all, ever.
I think you still have to wait for the Corona. Well, the secret to that always was that if you weren't getting the Corona, you didn't have to wait online.
Yes.
And I was like, everything he makes is incredible. Just go get anything
else.
The
cookie shots are so good.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, next question. City you'd fly to tomorrow just for breakfast?
Oh, Tokyo. I'd fly to 7-Eleven in Tokyo so I could get an exiled Santo.
No, that's solid. They're delicious. Okay. City with the most unexpectedly great Jewish food.
Oh, Jewish food. I mean, this might not be fair because it's unexpected to me as a New Yorker. Because I think as a New Yorker, like, oh, how could are there Jews here? I went to Indianapolis and I went to Shapiro's Deli. Like I landed and it was my first stop. We literally had the Uber bringing in my suitcases and everything. Because I was like, well, I'm landing, I gotta eat something. And I was like, oh, this place is so legit. And then like you look at the history, it makes sense when you like understand the history of Indianapolis and how the deli opened. It's been there for 100 years. It's this immigrant population, whatever. But yeah, I was like, oh, amazing. I love it. I could go to Indianapolis and find this amazing Jewish. I got pastrami on rye and a knish and a Dr. Brown's soda. It was like great.
Okay, solid. And then, what is your comfort meal?
Chinese food. Delivery Chinese food. I used to live above Joe Shanghai. It's just getting harder and harder to find, but like my dream would be just like General Tso chicken, some lo mein, scallion pancakes, like the real classics.
Solid. Yeah. Okay. How can people connect with you and learn more about your work?
So I want to be connected with the people that are listening to this after this. If you want to be nice to me, it's Jeremy Jacobowitz everywhere. Like I post my content everywhere. I'm more active on Instagram than anywhere else. So if you legitimately need to get in touch with me, Instagram's the best place. But if you just like want to see my content, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, podcasts, I have a newsletter, Substack, Facebook, Snapchat, Threads, X. I'm back on X. I'm paying X. I'm like, might as well try. Got over it. Anywhere that your favorite platform is, you can enjoy my content.
When you said this earlier, I was like, that's weird. Why did you say YouTube's your favorite platform to watch?
Ooh, I watch YouTube all day. YouTube is on in my apartment 24/7.
Why?
Because it just fulfills all my nerd fantasies. Anything I want to know, it's like, what I watch on YouTube is like tech, wrestling, video games, computers, cars, Japan stuff, movie stuff, like camera stuff, whatever I nerd out about, it delivers to me content. And like, I'm not getting that anywhere else.
Yeah. Is your feed like on your Instagram just other food stuff?
Yeah, my Instagram is like, it's my friends. Like I don't explore on Instagram. Like TikTok is more exploring because that's really the whole platform. Instagram is very much like, let me scroll for a couple minutes, see what my friends are doing. And there are a lot of food influencers, so it's a lot of food. But yeah, YouTube and TikTok niches down too hard. And TikTok shows me stuff. I'm like, I didn't even know I wanted to see this. This is crazy. I'm like scared how good you are at this. But yeah, YouTube is on all day in my apartment. I sleep with it on. It's great.
Wow. Okay, well, thank you so much for doing this. I have one final question for you. It's one that I ask every
Okay.
single guest. Who would you like to nominate for People Do Want to Know?
Drake.
Thanks so much. Maybe in 10 years. Thanks so much for this highly attainable nomination.
Dream big.
One day I'm going to get his ass and I'm going to be like, thank you very much for doing this. This has been a delight.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, please go ahead and rate us 5 stars. Be the first to hear our episodes by subscribing to People Do Want to Know wherever you get your podcasts. And for exclusive content, follow us on Instagram at People Do Want to Know.